Paul Heyman just gave the Usos a sneaky warning, so we'll see what's new there. We'll also check out some other bloodline-related issues, Drew McIntyre, and much more. Let's start things off with a mini update for Drew McIntyre. So last time we talked about Drew McIntyre, we discussed how reports were claiming that his WWE contract was close to expiring, and how WWE and himself were allegedly not close at all for agreeing on a new deal, leading fans to wonder if Drew McIntyre would once again be leaving WWE following the full expiration of his current contract. Drew's latest tweet at the time of this recording still is the 3 waving hands emoji that he posted after his WrestleMania match with Gunther and Sheamus. Well, now, Drew did a massive update to his Twitter page. He completely blacked out his profile and removed everything. His profile picture and banner are both blacked out. He removed all WWE references and has gone completely radio silent ever since he made those changes. The 2 recent superstars who have done a similar action was Liv Morgan and Seth Rollins. Liv and Seth blacked out their Twitter pages following their losses at Extreme Rules 2022. Liv had just lost her title to Ronda Rousey, and Seth had just lost the main event match to Riddle, and they both blacked out everything for a while there. So is that what Drew McIntyre is doing too? Is Drew just blacking out the page because he was upset with his WrestleMania loss and could be returning with some sort of character change and new direction? Maybe this big loss really has shifted the way Drew McIntyre thinks, and he'll return to WWE with a slightly new persona. Or is Drew McIntyre hinting at the idea he really may be done with WWE after all, and is teasing the next chapter of his career? That's really the only 2 options here for when it comes to Drew McIntyre's direction and what he could be teasing here. So we'll have to wait and see if Drew McIntyre remains in WWE or continues his career elsewhere. Now let's get back into everything with the bloodline, because there's a lot going on here, from new story developments, fan comments and concerns, and so much more. So the April 14th edition of Smackdown kicks off with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami and Kevin pointed out how they know the Usos will come after them for a rematch for the undisputed tag team titles, and how they need to be ready for that. Which leads to the Usos and Solo Sikoa coming out to the ring. Sami Zayn points out how the bloodline has to report back to Roman Reigns empty-handed every week because of how Sami and Kevin took the titles. Jimmy says that he's tired of hearing the same insults from Sami Zayn, and Jimmy argues that the bloodline is only more dangerous and hungrier than ever before, which is a good point and was something that Kevin Owens brought up the week prior. The fact that the Usos lost their titles at WrestleMania and how Roman Reigns is really looking down on them for it, that basically puts the Usos in this extremely desperate position to fight back hard for their titles, fight back for their spot, and most importantly, prove themselves to Roman Reigns that they're still worth something. So Jimmy's point is pretty valid. You can say that being back on the bottom of the tag team division at a desperate position does make the Usos an extremely big threat to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn points out that it's fine if the bloodline wants to ignore all of their obvious issues. Sami even mentions Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman's suspicious plan behind Jay's back, and how it looked like Solo was ready to drop Jay Uso. They all get into a brawl, and Matt Riddle comes out to save Sami and Kevin, and even out the odds against the bloodline. It's then announced that Matt Riddle versus Solo Sikoa will be the main event for SmackDown. And this does once again make sense for the story, because it was an attack from Solo Sikoa that wrote Matt Riddle off of WWE television in the first place and made him miss 4 months of in-ring action. So it's only right for Matt Riddle to want the revenge on Solo Sikoa for all that time he missed away from WWE because of him. The Bloodline is then seen backstage with Paul Heyman trying to hype up Solo Sikoa. Paul Heyman was telling him that when someone embarrasses him, it embarrasses the Usos, their father, and their entire family, and all the greats that came before them in WWE within the family. But Solo puts his hand on Paul Heyman to get him to quiet down, and tells Paul Heyman to tell the tribal chief that he's got this. Solo Sikoa would then live up to his promise and defeat Matt Riddle in the main event of Smackdown. So once again, everything appears to be going smooth sailing for Solo Sikoa. He said that he would take care of it, and that's exactly what he did. So we're to assume that Roman Reigns is more than pleased with him. But let's talk about the extremely interesting remarks from Paul Heyman that took place shortly before Solo Sikoa vs. Matt Riddle was underway. Paul Heyman noted that the Usos are getting their rematch against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed tag team titles in a couple of weeks. Paul Heyman promised that the Usos would get their titles back. But then Heyman did something that everyone picked up on. Paul Heyman's words were directed at Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens the entire time, and he said that the tribal chief is losing patience with the two of you. But when Paul Heyman said this, he was pointing at Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, but his face was looking directly on the Usos. The Usos didn't notice that Paul Heyman was looking at them when he said that because they were too busy looking at Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So just a really sneaky jab from Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman that the Usos weren't even aware of. They don't even have the slightest clue that Paul Heyman was actually looking at them when he mentioned that Roman Reigns was losing his patience. So a big question fans had coming out of this moment was the question of who actually was Paul Heyman talking to? And the answer is quite simple. Paul Heyman's words were directed at pretty much all four men. Roman Reigns is losing patience with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, we know that for sure. Kevin Owens has been a problem for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline since early 2021. And Sami Zayn has obviously been a thorn to Roman's side ever since spring of 2022. So these are both long-term issues Roman's been dealing with, and he seriously wants to be done with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So Paul Heyman's words are true in that context. But Roman Reigns is running out of patience can most definitely be applied to the Usos as well. Roman Reigns has been doing all he can since WrestleMania to avoid seeing the Usos because he's just so disgusted with the fact that they lost the tag team titles. He doesn't want to see them or talk to them at all. And like we've been seeing in recent weeks, it looks like Roman and Heyman are always plotting some plans behind Jimmy and Jay's back, waiting for them to slip up again in a major way so he can be done with them for good. So that's why when Heyman looked at the Usos when he said that line about Roman running out of patience, it definitely makes sense as well. Roman Reigns needs to see the Usos regain those tag team titles, or else there'll be serious price to pay. And like Paul Heyman's words alluded to, Roman could snap and do something to the Usos if they continue to let him down and if he continues to lose all of his patience with them. So yes, Paul Heyman's words were meant for Kevin and Sami, but more importantly meant for the Usos at the same time as well. So it's all going to come down to the tag team title rematch. If the Usos don't redeem themselves and get those titles back in that rematch, who knows what punishment could await them from Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.